not join us?
Kim's there too.
Okay.
Here, Dave, give me a, take your stuff off.
You take it off?
Okay, there's Kim's listening. All right.
There.
Excellent. Okay. Welcome everyone. I'd like to call to order our Sherwood Solid Waste Community Enhancement Program Advisory Committee meeting for Tuesday, April 5th, 2022. Roll call.
Chair Mays.
Here.
Committee Vice Chair Rosner.
Here.
Committee Member Browse.
Here.
Committee Member Garland.
Here.
Committee Member Scott.
Here.
Committee Member Young.
Here.
And our Metro representative, Committee Member Rosenthal.
Here. Awesome. Thank you. We have three topics. First, we need to approve the March 3rd, 2020 meeting minutes. Any changes to those?
I remember it so well.
We skipped it last year. Any changes people want to make or a motion on it?
So moved.
Oh,
It was March 3rd. Oh no, 2020, sorry, 2020 is fine.
yeah.
That was still, all right.
Yeah. So moved by Renee,
Second.
second by Doug. Discussion on the motion. All in favor of approving the March 3rd, 2020 meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Next topic is approval of the March 16th, 2021 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Tim, seconded by Renee. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all in favor of approving the minutes for 2022, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, board, committee. Excuse me. Thank you, committee. The third topic is the Community Enhancement Program selection of grants for this year.
Yeah, so just a little bit of background for the folks sitting at home. I apologize. One of the new parts of the IGA that we signed with Metro last June, I think it was approved at the June council meeting. There was a conflict of interest form that everyone had to sign before participating on this committee. So now would be the time if anybody has a conflict of interest to kind of step away.
I will be stepping away. I have a conflict of interest.
Thank you, Renee.
Yep.
Anyone else? All right.
And just a little bit of background for the audiences at home. The committee is made up of a Metro counselor for the district where the facility is located and the mayor and council for the city of Sherwood. Metro requires Pride Recycling Company to collect and remit to Metro a solid waste community enhancement fee of $1 per ton for certain solid waste. Metro will then send to the city the solid waste community enhancement fee funds collected quarterly. And right now, kind of the process and what we're going through now is just trying to determine what we're going to award for next fiscal year. You know, we have roughly about $79,000 available to award out. We only received 2 applications this year. And Brad, if I could get those up on the screen. One was from the Sherwood Chamber of Commerce. They're requesting $9,595. And the second one was from the Sherwood Robin Hood Festival Association. And with that, I turn it over to the committee members to discuss. Up on the screen is kind of the results. We sent out a form to all the committee members, just asking for their feedback. How much do they recommend? We received responses in terms of amounts from 3 committee members. One was Mayor Mays, Committee Member Young, and Committee Member Garland. And with that, I open it up to the committee to discuss what you feel you should award.
Awesome. Thanks, David. Appreciate that. From just at the end of this, I'm going to suggest that we consider doing this process again this year, maybe after budget. Since there was just 2 applicants. And I have ideas of what we could consider doing, and also give folks a chance to apply that might have missed during this session. So we got two grants. Thoughts from committee members on the 2 requests?
I have more of a general question.
Yeah.
For anybody that might know. I mean, every year I've been on this committee, we've had somewhere between 10 and 15 applications. To see only 2 is really odd to me. Do we have any sense of why we received so few applications this year?
You know, we went through the regular process. It was in the November and December Archer on the front page discussing applications are open on our website. You know, what I could just, you know, from my gut feeling is just, you know, COVID times and folks not knowing potentially when things would open up. Because when you look at some of the past applications, some of them were for maybe a guest speaker coming to talk at, you know, a foundation, and, you know, with the uncertainty of COVID and when things are going to open back up, you know, that's one reason why I could think in my mind there might have been a little bit of limited applications.
When was the deadline?
Is it
January 31st.
Okay, so well before things did open up then.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm kind of with you there. I'd like to see another round.
in the process we could do, you know, just because, you know, we got the budget coming up, there's an amount we can throw in contingency. And then if we went through this process again, you award, say, additional 30, 40, or maybe $50,000. I'd move it through a supplemental budget process, taking it out of contingency, and then we can award the amounts too.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked every year about, and I think we have to some degree rolled over some money every year, but we've talked about, you know, some years like, hey, we could really put a big chunk aside, and then after 3 or 4 years, we might have a significant amount of money in storage if you have something really cool.
Yeah, and with IGA, with Metro, you have up to 3 years to spend this money and award the money. So yeah, it can roll over for up to 3 years if that's something the committee chooses to do. Maybe next spring awarding a larger amount, but it's kind of really up to the committee.
Thank you.
Great. Other thoughts on the 2 grants we received?
I apologize.
All right.
Did we only advertise in Metro? We put it on social media?
We advertise on Facebook and we also put it on the billboard out on Robert Vermont.
So again, discussion on the 2 applicants.
This is Sean. If I can just jump in, I just wanted to point out with the Robin Hood Festival, I appreciate looking back through our meeting minutes and discussions we've had regarding some of their requests in the past. I know a suggestion was that we had made, and I'm sure others had made, I don't think it was solely based on our suggestion, but I know that it was suggested that the Robin Hood Festival look to some title sponsors to help cover some of their storage costs in past years, because that's where a lot of our money seemed to have gone in the past, was to storage. And I do see that the Robin Hood Festival has done that going forward. So I just wanted to point that out, that I appreciate that they've taken that step to help cover some of those costs from what we had typically been giving from the CEP grants, and that their request this year is a little bit different in that they're looking to make some enhancements and upgrades to some of their other booths and other things. So I appreciate that they, possibly listened to us a little bit, or had similar thoughts in mind that we had. And as you can see from my responses on here, I opted to provide them with the full amount. I think it's pretty obvious that the Sherwood Robin Hood Festival is one of the premier events that we have here in town. It's what people outside of Sherwood know about Sherwood. This and cruising, I think, are 2 of the most notable events that we have here. So I'm glad to support them this year with these funds.
Thanks, Sean. I agree. I agree with your thoughts on the Robin Hood Festival application as well.
100% agree. I noticed that changed as well from the feedback we've talked about the last few years. So I would be in favor of a full award for Robin Hood Festival.
Other thoughts on Robin Hood?
I agree as well. I'm just hoping that trend continues. Since we didn't have a Robin Hood Festival the past 2 years, I'm sure that's part of it too. So we got a great, they didn't return the last spring.
Yeah, I think a bulk of it would, I believe it was storage costs. Is that really? Yeah.
There were upgrades of the investments.
And thoughts on the chamber grant request? I specifically put it at half. I'm okay supporting a sink, you know, to make it more user friendly, but beyond that, I think that's where I'm okay with that.
I'll jump in, I guess. So I also opted to reward the full amount, and or award the full amount. And I think I'll be transparent here. A couple of years ago, when the chamber came with the idea of creating this kind of public workspace area for folks, I was skeptical of it. I didn't see a full need for it at the time. I thought it was a neat idea, but I didn't know how much it would be utilized by our community, or if there was really a need for it. I think now that we've got a pretty significant shift in the workplace for a lot of employees now, people working from home, I see that there is a better opportunity for something like this. And I think it's a unique opportunity for our community to have a workspace like this. So I support putting some money into that to help with some folks who might work for companies or, you know, small or large or other things, and that potentially need a meeting space, you know, and don't want to meet out of their kitchen or living room, you know, things like that. So I appreciate this kind of amenity in our town and would like to support it where I can. So I awarded the full amount as well.
Thanks, John. Kim submitted some questions and she has a tough connection. David, did you want to?
Sure. She had 3 questions. The first question is, since we have already funded this project previously, has the chamber been seeing the results it anticipated for the use of the space?
The question is whether or not it's been used.
Yeah, just see it. Are you seeing the results anticipated for kind of the use of the space?
Unfortunately, Renee, you can't answer.
Oh, okay.
It has to be somebody that doesn't have a conflict. So do you learn anything? Or does anybody know anything about on that topic on the board? How much space is being used after we funded the last remodel? So a reminder,
Yeah, I remember.
Okay.
Sean, you mentioned that you now think it's a great idea. Is that based on knowledge of use of the current facility?
No, I have no personal usage of that facility. I think I'm probably speaking a little bit more hypothetically and just somewhat based on what I've heard personally from coworkers who now work from home that a few years ago did not work from home and don't necessarily always have a great place to work. You know, I have some coworkers who perhaps are single parents that have kids at home, and in some situations, and not necessarily in Sherwood, but, you know, I work for the state of Oregon, but other folks who do have, you know, potentially important meetings, professional types of meetings, where having a quiet place where they could hold a teleconference meeting with an external vendor for the first time would suit them much better in a controlled environment such as this, rather than, again, like I said, in the living room surrounded by kids' toys and barking dogs. I see it more perhaps as a theoretical or a hypothetical bonus for other people. I don't have any specific experience with it myself, but I think it's a community asset that could potentially be recognized and appreciated by people in our community.
Thanks, Sean. I mean, we already did the remodel. It's a sink and some other little things. And
The second question, this is more of a topic for the committee. Is there any concern that the permanent upgrades to the facility benefit the property owner that isn't the applicant / nonprofit?
so because it's a tenant improvement.
Yeah. Any concern from the committee there? Or?
It's hard to know without more information. I'm assuming they have conversations with the landlord about it because of the nature of the improvement. It's hard to know the answer to the question.
And was there another general point then?
Oh, yeah, Councilor.
Yeah.
Does the chamber have a long-term lease agreement with the property owner? In other words, is this like a year-to-year sort of agreement?
I think it's a multi-year, but I don't know where they're at on their current lease. And I'm sure they wouldn't be applying if they didn't already have tertiary approval from their landlord to do it.
Can I ask a question, Josh? So I know in the past when we've done this, we've had applicants in the room that have answered questions for us. Obviously, this is a little bit of a different situation since the applicant is also a recused.
It would need to be somebody from the board.
What?
In my opinion, it would need to be somebody from the board. Or.
Yeah, I'm just asking a legal question.
Right.
If it's appropriate for her to answer questions, as long as she's not a deliberation, or if it's completely taboo.
When there's an actual conflict of interest, they're not supposed to participate in the deliberation at all.
Okay.
I think it's difficult to draw a line when you're having part of the conversation, whether you're deliberating or not. So my recommendation would be to just not participate.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Well, can I make a recommendation on this?
Sure.
And this assumes we're all in agreement, we're gonna do another round, maybe defer to that round, so we can get some better answers to those questions. That's an option.
Sure. That's. And
Yeah, I have some questions too, but because I'm here to answer them, so I'm not
Yeah,
gonna.
because I would like to see a little bit more of the success of the previous program in the application, so I'd just like to know.
Does anyone know, do they charge for the use of this facility? Is it free to their members? How does that work?
I get the impression that it's a revenue. Right? Or a member, or you're paying it as a member, so the added member benefit,
Yeah, I mean,
that would be a part of the rated rates or something else. I don't know for certain.
yeah, I'm thinking about the mailbox part of it, right? And I'm like, there's private enterprises in this town who offer mailboxes for rent. They don't get those things provided to them, by the city. So that, I'm seeing like, that kind of bothers me a little bit, like we're subsidizing
Yeah, I'm not.
a competitor of somebody else in the mailbox space. It's just one, have a problem with the same or something. Yeah, great, let's make it.
What's their deadline to get through this process?
This second process?
So I'm just throwing out ideas here.
So we could, if you went down the path that you said, we could support the Robin Hood application and then put a chunk of these dollars into a contingency fund or.
Basically, contingency is a budget line item under Oregon budget law, but we can't spend out of that without authority from the board, meaning I have to come in front of you folks with a supplemental budget requesting that move out, and the amount I'd be moving out would be the amount awarded during the second round.
They would just be in the light of potentially other applications as well.
And then you could say,
What is their official? There's four paths I think we have. I was going to suggest before. First is full funding. second is marginal funding. Third is, let's defer this one to the next round. The fourth is, if there's not a big deadline here, do we send these questions back to the chamber, have them answer it, and just defer this meeting a couple weeks and come back together with the answered questions? I'm just throwing all the options out that we can consider as we deliberate this stuff. Because clearly, I'm sure there's a lot of awesome intent with this application. People are, I can't believe the chamber is going to ask for money for trivial stuff. So I'd like to get the answers. And I'm just trying to find a path where they don't have to wait until another round. So that I'm just saying, just a fourth option.
I love the partnership with the high school.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say the only hiccup is, a couple of weeks down the road. I'm just trying to think of, I could probably make it work. It's just by then I'm already have delivered a budget to Keith for review. So it would be making changes to kind of the document, but I don't think it would be very complicated change. It would just be moving from contingency up to an expenditure.
If we did that path, I don't think the only change is a list of questions that go to the applicant and they get those questions answered. And then, or they can have someone else come to that meeting who's not in conflict of interest position that can answer it directly. Yeah, so.
If we did a supplemental budget, would that be just this group that would approve that, or would that have to be budget committee?
Oh, no, that's us.
No, it's city council.
Okay, just wanted to make sure that we didn't have to potentially have other people weighing in on this. So, okay, thanks.
Other thoughts? Sean, what's your thought? Based on comments, or Kim, if Kim is still on.
Yeah, I'll just say that, yeah, I mean, I think these are some relevant questions. I wish we could get those answered today. I'm still willing to support the project, but I understand the hesitancy of some of you there and wanting some of these answers. So I'm willing to punt it a little bit, I guess.
Yeah, I'm the same. If we can punt it a little bit and get the answers, I'd like to fund it sooner than later, to not have to make them wait for a second cycle.
Yeah. Great. K2 from David expressed some real worry around staff time. Okay.
So we'll look at the next.
So Garrett,
You want to come out again?
are you okay with that? So the simplest might be to just continue this meeting for two weeks.
There you go. And in the meantime, are there any other questions that we need to get?
There's just one other question from Kim. Just, she had concerns of funding the same projects multiple times due to different visions with the change of directors. And do they foresee this being an ongoing request? Should there be more changes in the future? But that is one that we will get answered for the committee at the next meeting.
Any other questions we would add to that list?
So we talked about,
Maybe we can cycle questions to David and he can talk.
Just, yeah.
And we'll see. We'll send them out, but then we'll also see if I can get a representative here that could maybe if you had additional questions from their responses that they give, and we'll send out the responses to those questions before the meeting so you have time to vet it and think about it.
awesome. So if I support this one, I'll make a motion to continue this for 2 weeks.
I will make a motion to.
Garrett, any questions?
Well, don't you also need a motion to approve the Sherwood Festival separately?
We can,
Or you want to
we can
continue
just
that to 2
continue.
weeks?
I mean, I think there's general support for that, but I don't think we need to, if we're gonna continue the whole meeting for 2 weeks, I think.
Oh, okay. So we'll approve that at the same.
Yeah, the Clear Festival's not until July, so.
Okay.
So I move that we continue with the meeting 2 weeks, date certain next week, whenever that is.
April 18th.
Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Moved and seconded to continue the meeting for 2 weeks to April 19th, 2022. To get some more information on the chamber grant application. And then we'll act on both applications at that meeting. Any further discussion on the motion? And then all in favor of,
So tomorrow I'll just send out a reminder, give folks a deadline, any additional questions you need me to ask the chamber, and I'll compile those, get them off to them right away. So you'll see an email from me tomorrow.
perfect, David.
Thank you.
Kim? Is that your, okay, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, committee members. And